știu să spun. Că nu te-am auzit, stai. Zi. Păi nu ți-am zis că mă doar lucru mâine, mă. Bolnăzală. Doamne iartă-mă. Ăștia de au o conversație? Da, în sfârșit e gata. Interior, exterior. Are și tub de bas. Pus muzică de la Norby. Dai seama când mi-au o navă spațială, le mă duc cu muzica, nu? Mm. I love it when it bugs out. I need to fix these fucking doors. Oh wow. Straight in my face. Deci aici am storage, refiner, storage, birou cu weapon rack, storage. Are vreo 500 de unități de storage. Alt refiner în caz că îmi trebuie de 2 ori. Încă un rack de multitool. Storage, 2. Aici e for fun. Aici e să fumezi o bâtă, să te uiți în spațiu, să chill out. Between missions și smuggling stuff. O să vezi și weaponry-ul și turbinele. Aici e meal stuff și more fucking storage. Și sus e command. E cockpit-ul. Oh. Stai așa că, așa aici e un mini birou și pula asta, nu știu ce e el. Sper să nu mă atace dracul într-o noapte. Stai așa că ceva. Bă, nu mă ataci, nu? Dracu te ia. Bun, hai să mergem la bază. Dar mă ce-am jucat Battlefield. Pic ciudat să zbor cu asta. Cred că mai am ceva de contrabandă. O, ce e aici? Jakey. Cine să știe? Looks pretty cool. Nu mă prea plimb cu astea. Să fac rost de componente mai multe, să fac unul ca lumea. You're weak. Nu știu plecat ăsta. Bă, n-am vrut. Mă trebuie să iau astea. Mi-a din viață mizeria aia, what the fuck. The fuck is that? Dracu era dropul de la... Retard. Mm. N-am mai luat. Sorry, bro. Just killed your brother. So sorry. Bă, dar mă, una, mă, what the fuck? One, only one, always one. Am mai văzut două de 100 de ani. Nu niște cargo. N-am știut că pot să bag în... I don't have food for you, sorry. Nu mușcă ăștia, cred că, nu? I don't wanna kill them. Subterranean organic structure. Nu știu ce dracu e asta. că e full ănu. Da. Am timp după aia să le văd. Care e una și alta. Merem pe Freightliner. Da, unde mi s-au avioanele? What the fuck? Eu nu pot să mi le iei aici, ar trebui să mi le iei aici. Numai astea 3 le am. God damn it. Ah, plecat. Aici am făcut storage. More storage. Teleporter. Appearance, adică changer. Și aici e command. Gen, bine, încă n-am suficient mobilier. Da, asta e fucking dead. Interesting. Da, așa. Cum dracu era? Aici. Care dracu era, mă? Scasa, aici trebuie să fie. The station. Da, de ce n-are curent ăsta, bro? A, deci merge. Numai că nu merge, nu știu de ce. No, whatever. Cred că am mai făcut un Corvette. Mai micuț. Mai weak. Hai să jump. Stai așa-ți dau drumul la ceva documentarii. The mystery at the most dangerous place on the moon. Huh? Nah, bro. Something else. Ah, authority announced arrest of Charlie Kirk's assassin suspect. Damn. Those fuckers really proved themselves being the ultimate pieces of shit. Celebrating the death of a father of so holy shit. Pieces of shit. Oh my god, ce gunoi de mă. Mizerii de oameni. Fire of us all. Da. Coffee House Crime.
When thriving tech engineer Zore Sadeghi turned to the world of podcasting, she found success in helping others break into the tech industry. But little did she know that her presence online would attract a morbidly unhealthy individual. And after meeting her at a meet and greet, his fascination turned into obsessive stalking. Her sense of security was shattered after this, and Zore sought help from the authorities and her husband for protection against this terrifying individual. Sadly, his persistence would not stop there. As the months passed by, her stalker would find her phone number, her address, and would even make himself known with gifts outside of the property. And despite their best efforts to rid themselves of this nightmare, it would end in the most tragic way possible. Welcome back to Coffee House Crime, folks. My name is Adrian, and today we're looking at one of the most disturbing stalker cases that I've ever come across. Zore Sadeghi and her husband were thrust into a terrifying situation when they could not rid themselves of an online stalker. And tragically, this would end in the most brutal of ways. If you're new here, I like to caffeinate while I investigate darkly fascinating stories. So, if that does sound like a kind of thing, please grab yourself a coffee, hit subscribe, and get ready for the deep dive. This is the case of Zore Sadeghi. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, folks. This story takes me back to my birthplace and first home, Seattle, Washington. With just over 4 million residents within its metropolitan area, Seattle is a bustling port city that has grown exponentially in the last decade. The city is known for its rather rainy weather, with almost half of the days in the year experiencing some sort of downfall. Covering the basics here, Seattle is also well known for its aerospace industry, Boeing, and of course, Starbucks. Saying that, if you'd like something a little more specialized, then there is no shortage of artisanal cafes and independent roasters to choose from. In fact, Seattle is known as one of the world's best cities when it comes to coffee, right next to London and Melbourne.
Ce pula mea, n-am range.
Really am just that predictable. Coffee aside, Seattle is an eclectic city with an ever-growing diverse population. And this is one of the many reasons why 33-year-old Iranian-American national Zore Sadeghi decided to settle in this city and, more specifically, in the suburb of Redmond. Zore and her 35-year-old husband, named Mohammed Milad Nasser, were financially well-off individuals. They lived in an upmarket home they had purchased together for a full sum of $1.6 million. Now, of course, this is a lot of money, but at the same time, it is somewhat unsurprising, considering Zore and Mohammed were both software engineers. An extremely well-paid title in the ever-growing technical industry sector that is taking Seattle.
Nu-mi place să dă warp ăsta, cred că pierde imersia.
Before leaving that job for a higher salary at Amazon. And Zore, on the other hand, she was more of a self-made techie. After graduating from the University of Washington, Tacoma, she took on contracted engineering jobs and built a portfolio before becoming a consultant. And of course, originally being from Iran, she was fluent in both English and Persian. The pair were highly hardworking and down-to-earth individuals, and were very thoughtful of others. In the year 2020, and when the pandemic sent the country into lockdown, both Zoreh and Mohammed would help vulnerable neighbors by delivering supplies. To add to that, the couple would even prepare homemade soups for those around them. The pair married in 2011, and moving forward into the year 2021, they'd saved up enough money to buy the home of their dreams in Redmond. Friends say that the couple never had any turbulence in their relationship, and they were ready to begin the next chapter of their life before settling down and having children. In the same way that Coffee House Crime was born, Zoreh found herself with free time during the lockdown, and so she channeled this free time and energy into starting.
Yeah, it can be quite obsessive. I mean, I don't even care about missions. I just like to look at this shit.
Real quickly here, but it can be real hard to
If you look on YouTube, you will see Ekranoplan is a Russian plane I inspired this from. It's a failed project. I don't know what's wrong with this planet. I think it's all gas. Or?
Whether you use a journal
Bono.
to write down your personal thoughts or check in on your life, travel, food or schedule, Day One has you covered. Honestly, it is like a Swiss army knife in the journaling world, and is one of the most dynamic and multifaceted apps that I've ever come across. With me on the go in Australia, I use the Day One journal app to record my targets and goals in the morning, and then record my mood and memories in the evening. This massively helped me stay productive while on the go, while also taking a moment to pause, reflect, and feel grateful for my day. Day One has reduced my day's clutter and stress while also keeping me more
Not a nice atmosphere here.
There are so many templates to choose from. Here are just a few examples. Mood tracking, diaries, memory logging, goals, tasks, and lists. There are just so many practical uses for Day One. My favorite premium feature is the use of multiple photos in the post, and you can even import them from Instagram. And as someone who sometimes spends their entire day working on scripts and reading articles, I find their text-to-transcription feature to be a real time saver. Give Day One Journal a try today. Go to dayoneapp.com/coffeehousecrime and use the code coffeehousecrime to unlock a limited time offer of a 2-month free trial of Day One Premium. Signing up is incredibly easy, and your productivity will love you for it. That's dayoneapp.com/coffeehousecrime, and see why it's the #1 journal out there. Returning to Zoreh and her podcast, she often posted her episodes on an app called the Clubhouse. Clubhouse was launched in March of 2020 and featured interactive rooms where people with similar interests and professions could meet and converse with each other. And here at Clubhouse, Zoreh found a community ready to form around her. Spoken in her native language of Farsi, Zoreh reached out to fellow Iranian Americans struggling to find work in the tech industry. Over the months, her talks would consistently grow in audience. She would often advise on how to secure a job, and her aim was to help those who joined her for her speeches. And one of those who joined her and her podcast in March 2021 was 28-year-old Ramin Kudakran Razan. Ramin joined Zoreh's podcast to get advice from a Farsi speaker. Being a truck driver, he felt financially unstable and wasn't quite leading the lifestyle that he wanted. And so, with that in mind,
The fuck is nothing here?
he considered following the money by moving into the tech industry. Inspired by his determination to break into this sector, Zoreh and Ramin started chatting in chat rooms found on the Clubhouse app. These conversations were mostly found in online group chats, as opposed to private ones. As time progressed, he began to message her for advice more frequently, attending.
Yeah, the staircase is not the best.
Schedule would allow. In short, whenever
But
Zoreh was
I'm
online, Ramin would be too.
I'm pretty pleased with the interior. I just moved the
I
just moved the cockpit one level up, put the bedroom here. Just a kitchen and some storage. And the leisure room.
Up until now, Zoreh had kept all of her client relationships strictly in consultancy and professionalism.
Pretty much storage and
After this meeting,
an office, and it's not we don't have too many options at the moment. I'm sure they're gonna add more.
And after meeting Zorre, Ramin's fascination with this podcaster would only become more intense. And after the group meetup, which occurred in summer of 2022, the latter half of the year unfolded in a progressively unsettling manner for both Zorre and her husband, Mohammed. Now, at first, Ramin began to message Zorre more and more via the Clubhouse app. However, once he found her private Telegram account, he would message her privately without her permission. By November of the same year, his frequency had escalated to unbearable levels, even asking Zorre if he could call her, if they could meet, and even if he could visit her at home. And although Zorre initially tried to deal with this problem all on her own, it soon became evident that she needed her husband's support. As a result, they both contacted Ramin at the very same time.
Yeah, I can bring some interstellar hookers.
Furthermore, they blocked every account they knew he owned.
I'm rich now, so I can get some
Ramin
premium
was
shit.
out of the picture, and his obsession heightened
I'm
by
sure there are
this.
still whores in this
As they
distant
sympathized
future.
with the message flow with the new
It's
number,
impossible.
things became even more worrying.
They've always
on
been here.
November
God
21st,
bless
he
them.
messaged Zorre to say that he was waiting for her in a nearby hotel, and she knew it was nearby because he
Die.
mentioned the name of their streets. By December, Ramin was messaging her every few days to tell her that he was waiting for her in her neighborhood. And although he didn't know which house she lived in, he was getting closer and closer. The situation was becoming dire for Zorre and Mohammed. To add to the problem, Zorre was currently unwell and was awaiting minor surgery. Meanwhile, Mohammed was due to fly off to Australia for business within the coming days. Of course, this would mean that Zorre would be left at home all alone. And in the meantime, Ramin continued to bombard her with telegram messages, telling her that he was waiting for her in the area. Rightfully so, she was terrified. And although he hadn't yet expressed any form of violence towards her, he quite clearly was unhinged. Luckily, Zorre had a supportive network of neighbors and family around her, all of whom were on call whenever she needed their help. This, in combination with a top-of-the-range home security system, did help put her mind at ease. She had also informed the local police department about her situation, providing them with Ramin's full name and any information she could remember. In addition to this, they asked Zorre to be vigilant and to call them if anything new were to happen. And so, on December the 20th, and with all of these precautions in mind, Mohammed left for Australia.
Six
That
sides.
was when it
Okay.
became obvious that Ramin had narrowed down where she lived. Horrifyingly, just minutes after Mohammed left for his trip, there was a knock at the front door. And on the other side was Ramin with a bouquet of flowers. in
There
her
you are.
hands.
Beautiful.
Not wanting to stop her husband's trip, she called the police immediately instead. But by the time
They
they
done very well with
arrived,
this patch.
Ramin was nowhere to be found. Calls
I'm
and
surprised
messages
I'm pushing so many
continued
hours
for
in this game.
weeks, but otherwise, Mohammed returned later that month without any other incidents. That would be until the following month.
Spent a lot of time building
when
and
all of a
farming.
sudden,
Oh my god.
vintage jewelry started showing up on the front porch.
But it's fun. It's like SnowRunner. If you
Although
played
Ramin was
SnowRunner.
initially hard to track down, the authorities were eventually able to locate him and serve their first warning. As a result, he was instructed to stop contacting
Yeah,
both
me too.
Zorre and her husband with immediate effect.
I built
This
a
was the
base, a
perfect
huge
time
base,
for
and then I
police to
got
find
so
out
fucking
whether
annoyed I
and
couldn't
start
finish it
further
because the
discussions
parts
with
wouldn't
her.
connect, and I
Police
didn't
thought
have
they
all
would
the
know,
things that I was
so they
envisioning
tried
to
verify
build
her. But the final
as
name
components,
of the couple
and I
would
just
occur on
destroyed
February
everything
21st, 2023.
and made the
When yet
basic one.
another
As
gift
fuck it.
was left outside of the front door. This time, Zorre and her husband were not taking any chances. After calling the authorities, officers opened the box to find a gifted silver scarf. And, no doubt, this came from her twisted stalker. As a result, they decided that it was finally time to file for a restraining order. Quite simply, the gifting, threatening, stalking and harassment had become absolutely unbearable, and the couple now felt entirely unsafe in the four walls of their very own home. The report was finalized on March 3rd,
Oh.
2023, with both Zorre and Mohammed's names
I already have those.
to help protect the both of them. However, due to the rather nomadic nature of Ramin's lifestyle, it was quite hard to pin him down and serve the warrant. And with the persistence and heaviness of his behavior and his actions, it is no surprise to learn that Zorre asked for the longest possible term on a restraining order. So, to highlight how persistent Ramin had become. He was messaging Zore up to 100
Ah,
times a day,
fuck.
including voicemails and phone calls.
I don't wanna
And
go in
whenever
there.
she refused to talk to him or simply block his number, he would fall into a hole of fury. He would even go as far to message her husband and demand she pick up the phone. He had even become aggressive, delusional and violent, often threatening to burn himself alive or burn her and her neighborhood to the ground. To add to this, he had now also tracked down the phone numbers of her friends and her family, meaning that she feared not just for her own safety, but for theirs too. This man had totally violated her privacy. With all of this in mind, Zore requested a 99-year restraining order to keep Ramin away. But even still, this lifelong order was not enough to help her feel safe. And that's because of one particular message that she received only a few weeks prior. Paraphrased, the message read, "The only two things that will make me stop is if I end my own life or if I die." Devastatingly, little did she know how true this statement would eventually become. But the most tragic part of all of this
Yum, yum,
is
yum.
that, even worse, his death would
Oh,
happen
tritium is very good.
quietly. March the 10th, 2023. This was the day that a harrowing phone call was made to the emergency services. The voice on the other end of the line was Zore's mother, who, at the time, had been staying with the couple in their property for the previous month. And you can probably guess why she had been keeping them company. Neighbors noted that in the previous weeks, she had been extremely vigilant and protective, often peering out of the window to see if anyone was out there. No surprise, but the neighbors
The
had
fuck,
no
they don't
clue
operate.
as to why she was doing this. In fact, the call made to the emergency
They just
services
spawn in front of me.
had even come
The
from
fuck?
one of their homes. Through screams and tears, Zore's mother told the operator that someone had broken into her daughter's property, and even worse, gunshots had been fired. Responders hastily made their way to Zore's home, but sadly, it was already too late. Upon arrival, officers opened the front door to find Mohammed barely alive on the floor. He had been fatally shot and, continuing the trail of blood,
One.
he crawled his way downstairs. First responders administered first aid, but sadly, all of their efforts were in vain. Shortly after, he was pronounced dead at the scene. Meanwhile, armed officers pressed on through the rest of the property, and after making their way upstairs, they were met with another distressing scene. They also found Ramin's lifeless body next to her, and quite evidently, he had shot himself in the chest, allowing him to die slowly next to his victim. The tragic end to this story painted a picture of the worst possible outcome in any case of extreme stalking and obsession. And to help piece this terrible scene together, there was one distraught witness. Of course, that being Zore's mother. Her account of events goes something like this. At approximately 1:45 a.m., Zore's mother awoke to strange noises from an adjacent bedroom. Unknown to her, Ramin had broken into the home through the bedroom's window, and after exploring where the noise came from, Zore's mother came face to face with the man she had heard so much about. A terrifying individual, well known by her for his disturbing tendencies, had now broken all legal and physical barriers, and was now staring at her from within the comfort of her daughter's home. Ramin launched himself at the woman, pushing her out of his way. From his momentum, she was able to break free and escape the room, and eventually the house. That is when she ran to a neighbor's home before dialing 911. Tragically, during this time frame, Ramin found enough time to shoot Zore, Mohammed, and then finally himself. Mohammed, who was only barely alive, managed to crawl downstairs to the front door before collapsing in a pool of his blood. That is where the authorities would find him only several minutes later. After months of harassment, Ramin's spiraling mental health led him to the twisted conclusion that if he couldn't be with Zore, then nobody could. And sadly, he was given the opportunity to act out on these terrible thoughts.
This morning, new details about a murder involving a podcast host and her husband found dead in their Washington State home. Police say the suspect, who was a long-haul truck driver, drove all the way from Texas to Washington State. At his next stop,
The fuck?
the victim's house. According to police, he shot and killed podcaster Zore Sadeghi and her husband,
Rece
before
vamos.
appearing to take his own life. A neighbor says their security camera caught the commotion
Hai,
overnight.
ne auzim.
What her linked here. I'm not sure I should have gone back and listened to her.
Zori's mother was inside the house, but somehow managed to escape and call 911.
This is the absolute worst outcome, for a stalking case.
Although Zore had notified the authorities of his appalling behavior, not enough was done to stop him. Sadly, stalking cases are rarely a top priority for the police, as many of them are often deemed to be matters of personal relationships. But this was not the case for Ramin, a man who had developed a parasocial relationship with a flourishing tech podcaster, and one strong enough where he believed that he knew her enough to be in love. And had the police acted fast enough and made more of an effort to track him down, then maybe Zore and Mohammed would still be alive today. The missed opportunity here
Vreau să mă,
Ramin
du zici.
sat outside of the residence or nearby in a bright red truck for several months. And although it is rare for a stalking case to escalate this far, this story experienced the worst case scenario, ending in 2 innocent lives being lost when this didn't need to happen. Now of course, this is
Oh, fuck.
the legal proceedings of the case, but with Ramin dead,
N-am voie.
obviously no prosecution to be made. Following this double homicide, Ramin's ex-wife came forward to describe and speak about her ex-partner. Apparently, they were together for 7 years, had a daughter, and have now been divorced for 5 years. She noted that in the summer of
Vă mai iau
2022,
stuff, uite, ha 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 ha.
his demeanor changed quite
Stealing your shit.
Apparently, she was ordered to speak about it, and he acted as if they were together. However, he never thought he was capable of not just tracking down, but then stalking an innocent woman. This behavior was miles apart from the man that she used to marry. Zore and Mohammed were successful and caring, and had the rest of their lives ahead of them. But sadly, all of this was taken away from them by a deranged stalker. Zore had made her podcast to help other people break into the industry that she loved so much. But within this kindness, she found a living nightmare that refused to leave her alone. Ramin was an obsessive and sadistic stalker who felt entitled to her love and time. And ultimately, this obsession in Zore led to his end too. While not necessarily a violent crime, stalking is still a very severe form of harassment. And although most of these cases will end up being resolved without any violence whatsoever, the emotional impact on the victim can be enormous. Statistically speaking, 1 in every 3 women report being the subject of stalking at least once in their lifetime, which is an alarming figure when you think about it. Sometimes it's not just about the violence. Being physically stalked or even stalked online can massively impact a person's sense of happiness and security. And so, no matter how minor the problem, if you're feeling uncomfortable from someone's persistence, it is definitely worth seeking help from your friends, family,
Ești din planta aia, du-te dracu.
and I've said this before already, but parasocial relationships can be absolutely terrifying. This story reminds me of the case of Christina Brimley, which had very similar consequences. Anyway, folks, I'm going to wrap this case up here today. Thank you so much for watching. Before we go though, let me know what you think about this case. For one, how do we as a society deal with stalkers like this? And do you think the police did enough to try and stop Ramin? Thank you again to Day One for sponsoring today's video. If you want to check out the Day One journaling app, click the link in the description below. Definitely losing my voice towards the end of this video, so I'm going to wrap this one up here today, folks. Thank you again so much for watching today, and as always, I'll see you again very soon for another one. As one moment arrives though, remember to look after yourself, look after each other, and of course, stay safe. Thank you, and goodbye.
Wipe this ladder there.
Doar în pulă.
Go back this way a little bit. Give the camera. Shit. Run. He's coming.
It was in the final hour of May the 29th, 2021, that a YouTuber
Am mâncat destul de aici.
was out on an adventure with one of his friends. You see, Lewis was the kind of guy who loved a bit of adrenaline, and being in a spotlight while doing it. However, he didn't like to make these sorts of videos alone. So, when he received
Right.
a request from one of his fans to join him on these adventures, well, let's just say it didn't end well for either of them. Quite honestly, this story is absolutely wild and has so many twists and turns, and is only one of 3 today. And so, on that note, welcome or welcome back to Coffee House Crime Clips.
Să upgrade, nu știu de.
And today, we're looking at 3 stories involving YouTubers, TikTokers, and influencers. And while some of those are being victims, there are others that are guilty. Before we begin, if you like true crime, strange or chilling stories, then please do consider subscribing and stick around until the end of the video to tell me what you think about this format. And now, with that said, please grab yourself a coffee and let's caffeinate while we investigate. It was shortly after 11:30 p.m. on May the 29th, 2021, that 18-year-old YouTuber Mark Williams was on his way home from Maresfield, a small village found deep in the countryside of England. Now, having a few friends who actually live near Maresfield and Uckfield, I can vouch by saying that, although it is beautiful, there is barely anything to do around there. It was on this night that Mark agreed to go out drinking with one of his friends, Lewis. And although they'd only been friends for a short while, this had become quite a regular thing. After agreeing to meet in the nearby woods for a drink or a few, Mark then called his aunt, Emma, to let her know that he was now on his way back home. Now, Mark did sound quite drunk, which was actually out of the ordinary for him. But nevertheless, he was now on his way back home and hopefully would be safe soon. Being with his friend, Lewis told Emma not to worry about her nephew and that he would make sure that he would get back home in one piece. It had been a long day for Mark after all, and these drinks were sure to tire him out, so I'm sure that he was looking forward to getting back home and into his bed. But the problem is, Mark would never actually make it back. In fact, neither would Lewis. Growing up in the neighbouring town of Uckfield, Mark was your typical teenage boy. He loved gaming on Call of Duty, tolerated school, and had somewhat of a rebellious side too. Now, Mark and his brother both loved their parents, but with their aunt Emma living nearby, they would often stay with her on the weekends. It is worth saying that Uckfield is not one of those places where something new happens every week. You don't have access to
este mare brânză aici.
or anything like that, and so many teenagers find themselves bored out of their minds. Of
Boring
course,
planet.
Mark was no different, and in order to replace the mundane evenings and weekends, he would often lean on inspiration from some of the YouTubers that he used to watch in the urbex space. For those of you who don't know what urbex or urban exploration is, it is a term that is often used to describe visiting abandoned or prohibited places. Admittedly dabbling in this hobby myself when I was younger, urbex is a great way of experiencing liminal or decaying spaces, adrenaline that you seldom find as a teenager. It was after learning about urbex that Mark and his brother decided to create their first YouTube channel
Mă, n-am
together,
server ăla,
which
fute-l
they originally
soarele.
called Rooftop Legends. This was where they began uploading their own urbex or parkour videos, often with a twist, which sadly would involve escaping from security guards and even the police. In these videos, you can see them breaking into construction sites, public buildings, and even football stadiums. And while many of these videos were eventually taken down for quite obvious reasons, some of their earlier content from as far back as May of 2018 can still be found. From an outside perspective,
Just a fucking
what they
black
were
hole.
doing did have apparent risks. I mean, you don't simply walk
Da.
all over rusty barbed wire without potentially
Most
catching
likely.
tetanus. And that aside, what they were doing was not really acceptable, and the behaviour that they exhibited was leaning on the antisocial side of things. However, the leading concern
Opa,
of the
bocteri.
was not over theft or damage, but simply for Mark's well-being. By the year 2019, Mark's brother had decided to leave urbex behind for good, and instead focus on more constructive
boy.
things going on in his life. You see, he wanted to become a police officer, so this was not really the best look for it. But his older brother, Mark, was not
Fuck
finished
off.
with the idea yet, and so instead, he took the opportunity to rebrand and then relaunch under a brand new name. And so, Displace was born. Displace, or Displace 3469, was likely his own way of starting fresh, and throughout the year of 2020, he continued to upload videos now under the new parkour or free-running space. But throughout this year, which of course included COVID, he would start posting less frequently, and although there were initially no other clear explanations as to why he stopped posting so often, he would use his time in the spotlight to talk about his own experiences with freerunning, and also why he enjoyed doing it so much. It was on November the 1st of 2020 when Mark finally gave an update, posting a video titled "Displace is Returning" to his YouTube channel. It was in this video that he explained that he was trying to follow in his younger brother's footsteps and had been attempting to become a police community support officer ever since leaving school.
You're kidding me. Anyway, the update is I've been doing some talking with Lewis. He's seeming like he wants to get back into climbing and stuff. I haven't actually done it since Christmas. I am not sure where my channel is going to go. I don't know if I'm going to keep doing these videos. I don't know if I'm going to be doing different videos or whether I'm going to stop completely. At this point in time, I don't know. I've been training to get my SIA license over the past
Hai să
couple of
vedem,
weeks.
putem
I
trece
can't
prin
really
aia.
risk that, but I'm not sure at the moment. I need to talk with Lewis some more.
Is it
work
spinning?
something out. You know, I can keep doing this. I mean, Ali Law still does it. He's in his 20s. He's doing good for himself. You know, good for him. But I'm hardly an athlete. I'm hardly a pro at this kind of thing.
Now, although it is unclear why he was ultimately rejected, I do have the sneaky feeling that maybe it was because the police officers who were ultimately responsible for recruiting him decided it wasn't a good idea to hire someone who, you know, recently broke into several places. I mean, it kind of feels like that's the exact opposite of what they're looking for, right? Either way, he then goes on to say in this video that he's now ready to come back to YouTube with a new phone, a better camera, and a bigger ambition than ever before. It also appears that Mark was weighing up the idea of possibly making a living just simply by making videos on YouTube, which is great, and usually I'd say all the more power to you. But is being a mild nuisance and breaking into properties really what you'd like to be
It's a lot of water for a planet so close to the sun. To a star.
I'm getting a new action cam. And I'm going to pick some serious videos. Not like
No, it's not spinning.
proper ones. I'm just getting myself back in shape again. Especially during the night as well, and I've seen me up here.
Only 2 weeks later, on November the 14th, 2020, Mark decided to introduce a new teammate to his YouTube channel, that being a young man
Damn.
named Lewis Ashdown. So,
This game is
what can I
really
say about
pretty.
Lewis? Well, he was a new friend of Mark's. Originally a fan who simply watched his videos on his YouTube channel, he wanted to get involved with the Urbex, and so Mark, who quite clearly was
The
quite
fuck?
lonely at the time, jumped at the opportunity to have someone to make contact with. You see,
It's getting kinda hot.
His live streams that Mark was still upset with his brother.
With the greenhouse gas
He missed the company.
visible.
In fact, he missed company in general because Mark was a very lonely person. He wanted friends, and well,
How do you know? It's literally green, bro. Oh.
Compatibility aside,
Oh.
it was quite evident that Mark
Yeah, I think I'm getting closer to the side where it's where the sun is shining brighter.
Mark decided to introduce a new teammate to his YouTube channel, that being a young man named Lewis Ashdown. So, what can I say about Lewis? Well, he was a new friend of Mark's. Originally a fan who simply watched his videos on his YouTube channel.
Not a shred of life here.
Involved with the Urbex, and so Mark, who quite clearly was quite lonely at the time, jumped at the opportunity to have someone to make contact with. You see, it is quite obvious through his live streams that Mark was still upset with his brother for ditching him and the channel. And, well, of course, he missed the company. In fact, he missed company in general, because Mark was a very lonely person. He wanted friends, and, well, Lewis, he was there to fill that void. Compatibility aside, it was quite evident that Mark still had some work to do in establishing boundaries between him and his supposed friends. You see, loneliness caused him to let the wrong kind of people into his life, which, sadly, is something that we all need to learn how to filter. But Lewis, well, at least at the time, he seemed like a trustworthy person. So, why not?
Yeah, I think it's.
Things like
I don't
that
think it's
took a long
water.
time to conclude, and although their schools and friend groups never seemed to overlap, he wasn't an
How bad is it outside?
Much like Mark, Lewis left school after college to do his own thing, and in the same way that Mark intended to be a community support police officer, Lewis was was also
Pretty
trying
bad.
to find his own way in life by becoming a chef. Over the next few videos, Mark would host Lewis as the two of them would explore several areas together, including water treatment facilities, town
What the fuck?
rooftops, hotels, and construction sites. Throughout
Ah, I
this
keep
time
on falling.
frame, you can tell that Mark did actually have doubts about his own channel.
Probably has low
He seemed
gravity.
to be upset about consistently getting caught, and he also seemed to have aspirations to move out and live with his girlfriend.
I've got my life to get in order. Me and my special someone are
Okay, nothing is trying to kill me.
start a life together.
Except the fucking plants.
You know, I've got full money, and really, I need to get my hands on 100 grand. And there's no way I can do that very easily. I'm not certain about the channel's future. I really hope this is not another episode where my channel disappears, and then maybe I'll start a new one in a few months' time. I really hope it's not like
Yeah, I
that.
thought
I'm really sorry.
it's a gravity issue, but it wasn't. It was impossible to have such a low gravity. They couldn't fall. Well, that was pretty good.
Whether you like his content or not, Mark and Lewis did seem to be frustrating a lot of people with their videos. There were security guards, chefs, concierges, you name it, and sneaking around facilities and buildings.
Uterit.
A threat to their safety was not something that anyone particularly appreciated. Despite seeing awkward moments of conflict between the two, including a part where they were talking about alcohol, it was evident that they both enjoyed each other's company, at least for the most part, bonding over moments of adrenaline and running away from officers.
Why is everyone running? Should I run with them? Fuck. What? I don't own a... Wow. Ah, I didn't bring the... Yeah, I didn't bring the Freightliner here. Yeah, I should bring my Freightliner here. Let me get this one first.
But sadly, despite their fun, this video was one of the last ever made by Mark. With the lockdown still looming, barely any cash
Fuck.
and not many friends, Mark was
Come on.
understandably in quite a hard part of his life, which is probably why he agreed to go out and meet Lewis in the woods for a few drinks. Lewis promised to help distract him from the many things stressing him out, and with this being only a half-hour walk away, Mark really didn't have anything to lose, so he agreed. It was only after Mark arrived with his little brother that Lewis said he was no longer comfortable with the situation, and so, a short while later, and with a bit of persuasion, it was dropped. And so, later that evening, Lewis and Mark met in Fairwalk Field, with Lewis quite notably filled to the brim with alcohol.
Fuck.
I'm not just talking about a little bit here. I'm talking several bottles of beer, Jack Daniels, whiskey, Coca-Cola.
Leave me the
you
fuck
name it.
alone.
And what's worse, Lewis seems to be forcing him to drink. When Mark told him that he was now beginning to feel quite drunk, Lewis said okay and promised that he was now only drinking soda, when in reality, it was still very strong drinks. Now, we've all been there before, I'm sure, but Mark
Fucking
had
A.
a curfew to follow, and so at 11:20,
Strong
he
storm.
said that he was now
storm.
on his way back home, with Lewis chiming in to say that he would get back safely. However, as you know, that would never happen, because shortly after, the two boys, they disappeared. Notifying the police that their son was now missing, police officers got to work on trying to find Mark the following morning. And their challenge would only seem to amplify when they realized that his good friend Lewis also failed to make it home too. As a result, all officers in the area were informed to be on the lookout for both of these young men. But sadly, nobody had seen them, and as Sunday grew long in the tooth, the investigators began to arrive. Over the next several hours, not one single sighting had been raised. However, by sunset, several citizens had come forward to claim that they had actually seen Lewis in a nearby pub. So, were Mark and
Come
Lewis
save me.
away and simply trying to...
Oasa, Oasa.
I mean, they were well known for trying to avoid officers, so maybe? While the police continued to look for both Lewis and Mark in the local pubs and
It's not even that big of a storm outside.
hard at work in the countryside looking at all of the surrounding lakes and woodlands. However, unknown to any of them at the time, one of them was continuing with his life as if nothing had happened. It was the following Monday while
The
all
fuck,
this
I missed
was
the
going on,
I missed the
by
stairs,
way,
holy
Lewis
shit.
then decided to meet up with his friend Liam to play some football and
Okay.
bingo cinema. Now, Liam,
Time to
who
bring the
realized
Freightliner here.
that his friend was
This
acting
place is
like he
interesting.
was missing, thought nothing of Lewis's behavior, which was noted to be completely normal.
But there is no
The two
space
kicked
station.
around for a while
The fuck?
until Lewis eventually asked Liam if maybe he'd like to catch up the following evening. And with nothing on, he said sure. But this time, a bottle of Jack Daniels would sit neatly between the two, the whiskey burning their throats as they shared a drink together. Now, I'm sure that many of us understand and know this feeling, but the laughter and haze of alcohol just seems to make things a little bit easier to talk about, I'd say. But even still, Liam, he was not ready or prepared to hear what Lewis was just about to share. I killed him, he confessed, almost casually. The kid was annoying me. Liam froze, unsure if he had heard that correctly. But Lewis, he kept talking, kept offering more unwanted secrets. His words disturbingly clear, despite not being designed. In the silent dark, he continued with his confession. I took a knife with me. I wasn't sure at first, but in a moment, I just felt it. I wanted to. I felt good. Mark deserved it. I thought about killing him before, and finally went through with it. Sadly, the worst was still yet to come. With a twisted grin, Lewis pulled out his phone, and then, one by one, he showed Liam several gruesome videos, with each one being more disturbing than his past. Liam could hardly breathe as he watched.
Where is the
Lewis was
space station?
laughing as he showed his friend these videos, all of which lasted for longer than an hour. It was in that moment that Liam suddenly realized that he was hanging out and alone with a psychotic murderer. His body screamed at him to run and tell someone or anyone. However, for those agonizing moments, all he could do was just sit there, trapped in the horror. But no surprise, Liam escaped as soon as he had the opportunity to. In the meantime, police officers were already closing in on Lewis. They had since
Let's
searched
bring
his
the
home with an active
station
search
here.
warrant, before then upgrading the missing persons case to be a potential homicide due to what they found inside. Looking around his bedroom, they found clothes covered in blood,
Good.
which sadly would
Asta
later be
ar trebui
proven
să
to
poți
belong
să...
to Mark. With the reported sightings of
După
Lewis
rost.
and bloody clothes found at his property, but no sightings of Mark himself, detectives then began to theorize that
Let's
maybe
go on the dark
he
side
was
now.
actually the one responsible. And then, when Liam reported his discovery to the officers, well, they knew they needed to find Lewis. Thankfully,
Star
it
system,
wouldn't
yeah.
take long for them to
But
find
if you have the Freightliner, it's no
Lewis.
problem.
Well, he was actually at home waiting for them, and when asked what had
You have
happened, he
pretty
said,
much everything you need.
I wanted to kill him. I've wanted to for a long time. Shortly after his arrest, the body of Mark Williams was found in a nearby river. Search teams located the body in the woodland surrounding the Heronsgill area, which would have only been a short walk from where the two bodies drank together. Moving to the legal proceedings of this case, the court heard that Lewis would go on to stab Mark an extraordinary 107 times in the face, eyes, neck, head, back,
I should be able to summon
leg. And after he was done with his
to
violence,
summon my
he
exocraft
then
now that I have the Freightliner here.
and then dumped his body in a stream before returning home. Lewis claimed that his actions were merely a matter of self-defense, and that, furthermore, he'd only lashed out at Mark after he had tried to make sexual advances on him. However, the court did not buy his story, and ultimately he pleaded guilty to murder and possessing an offensive weapon, in the end receiving 27 years for his crimes. The judge declared it to be one of the most savage, sustained, and merciless murders that the court had ever dealt with, and its then went on to recognize the immeasurable pain felt by his family. Following his death, they said, Mark touched the hearts
Oh,
of
okay.
so many people and made their lives brighter with his loving, caring, and faithful actions. We are heroes lost every second, and that will never change. Our hearts are broken. I think the terrifying thing about this case is that Lewis's chilling confession made it very obvious that he was actually planning to murder Mark for quite some time. But with the two nearing each other, months before he died, it does make you wonder if Lewis had been planning this before the two had even met each other. Now, what this would mean is that Lewis had actually formed an evil parasocial relationship with this YouTuber and then committed to a friendship with him only so he could murder him. What can I say? It just goes to show how careful you have to be, not only with the friendships that you choose, but the company too. I feel like taking advantage of a friend's trust and friendship is one thing, but it takes a true psychopath to choose violence, murder, and then film it all on your phone. Now, our next case is slightly different to this one, involving both a YouTuber and a TikToker. And I think it's best I just tell you the story instead of creating spoilers. And so, on that note, here's the story of Mr. Prada. The date was September the 29th, 2024, when officers received a phone call from a concerned citizen driving along Highway 51. While driving along this road, they noticed a suspicious rolled-up tarp on the side of the highway between the villages of Fluka and Tangipahoa. For context, both of these villages are around 60 miles northeast of Baton Rouge. It is an isolated area, with most of the traffic opting to take Route 55 instead of this small road. A place where others were unlikely to see anyone dump a body, because hardly anyone would be around. Responding deputies approached the tarp with caution.
Exocraft not owned, oh my god. The fuck, man. Nu mai știu cum să fac asta. Anyway, not so far away.
To begin with, the preliminary cause of death was ruled.
Aproape că nu-ți mai trebuie exocraft dacă știi să sari.
The man had appeared to have been badly beaten, with the manner of death ultimately deemed to be blunt force trauma.
Let me steal.
Soon enough, the victim was identified to be 69-year-old William.
I wanna steal, cause I'm a junkie.
However, the more that investigators looked into
Leave me
this
alone.
case, the worse it
Stupid
became.
fuck.
For context, William Nicholas Abraham, better known as Nicky, was a life coach and a licensed professional counselor. He liked to be a motivational speaker, an author, and more. And with more than 30 years of experience in treating substance abuse, depression, and anxiety, he provided psychotherapy to all walks of life. In addition to this, he also offered group counseling and presentations to the public. He also treated a wide range of clients, including those suffering.
My god, I'm waiting for my food like an hour now. I'm dying of hunger. The fuck is wrong with this guy? Is he lost? What the fuck are you doing?
Mississippi. Nicky graduated from Clarksdale High School in 1972. Before then,
I wanna eat these fucking plants on my screen.
Theology at the Sacred Heart School of Theology. Moving forward,
Maybe they're
he obtained a
psychedelics.
PhD in counseling from Marquette University, and then also business administration and management degree from Concordia International University. So it goes without saying that, no surprise, this man was quite the smart cookie. Nicky